Hi everyone, thanks for joining me today. This is Sam Muir for UKE Magazine, and today I'm going to be guiding you through my arrangement of Andante Op.43 No.6 by Mauro Giuliani. Originally written for the guitar, but I've arranged it for the ukulele. Now, I'm sure many of you will know this tune as the theme tune from Tales of the Riverbank, which was a 1960s children's show which featured on the BBC. So I'm going to grab my ukulele, I'm going to drop the camera down so you can see my hands, and let's get started. So this is arranged for high G or re-entrant tuning, and the reason will become apparent as we go along, but basically it's because I've got some of the runs played as little campanellas, which I think is really very effective. Now, to give you an overview of the piece, I've just popped in 3 section marks, so A, B and C. These are my markings, and it's just really to help you with practicing and learning this piece, because it's quite a long piece. I recommend that you break it down into the different sections, focus on one section at a time, and then put it all together. So just to give you some general points about this piece, it's in F major. So we have 1 flat, which is the B flat. It's in 4/4 time, so it means there's 4 quarter notes or 4 crotchets per bar. But if you just look at the score, you can see there's a lot of quavers or 1/8 notes and this constant running movement throughout the piece. Now, one of the traps is that it's really easy to just get faster and faster because it's a fun piece and you kind of get swept along with that. So we just need to be careful of that. When I play it, I'm going to play it at quite a slow tempo, and then feel free to play it at whatever speed you like, but my advice would be just to not go too fast. Some of the things I want to really focus on today are the fingerings, so for left hand or fretting hand fingering, and then the picking hand fingering, and I'll talk about those areas as we go along. Now, one of the things I love about this piece is that it is a really fun piece of music, but it's also got a lot of little kind of technical ideas that we can use to work on to improve our playing overall. So there's kind of musical and technical advantages to this piece. For example, the very first note, so notice that we start with this upbeat. We're starting on the fourth beat of the bar. We've got these 2 quavers. Now, you might have noticed that I used my pinky and then my second finger, and then I drop on to the first finger. So I get a really nice legato descending run on those first notes, because if you play 3 to 1, which is very instinctive when you look at the tab especially, then you've got to jump with this first finger from this first fret on the A string to first fret on the E string. Now, I want to avoid that because it can be a little bit ungainly. It's very easy to make an extra sound when you do that little jump. So I just find that by going 4, 2 and then 1, it's really nice and smooth. Okay, so that was the first thing I wanted to say. And then the other thing I'm going to talk about just briefly is the picking hand fingering. Now, you'll notice as soon as we get into that bar 1, we've got these double notes. Okay, and it's really important to play them so that they sound as one. We don't want this kind of broken, uneven sound. Now, I'm using my index and middle fingers, I and M, to play those notes. They're thirds, basically notes from our F major chord, aren't they? So I and M together, and then I'm using the thumb on the 3rd string. Now, I know some people will say, oh, why don't you use A and M and then the index finger? I don't think it works at all because you've got this constant movement. And the thumb is just playing this repeated open C. And if you use the flesh of the thumb, you can get a kind of softer, more mellow sound, and it gives this sense of it being the bass note, which is what it's meant to be. So I and M and then the thumb. Really good technical exercise. And you can see we're just moving up and then back notice that I did hop. So when we got to the second part of the first bar, so after my F and A, and then I go to the B flat, and I'm jumping with the first finger. It's somehow easier to jump in a downward motion than an upward motion, I find. And also, I don't have a problem with it being a little bit detached. I think it's quite nice. All right, so we're moving in thirds, F and A. Now, if you think, oh, I don't want to do theory, that's fine. But basically, this is a major third. So it's a happy sound. We start off very happy, very upbeat, and then gets a little bit more edgy because this is a minor third. So if you don't want to think about the theory, just think about the actual colour of the notes that I'm playing. So major, and then the minor builds the tension. That's the idea. It's emotional and coloristic. It's not just about, you know, technicalities. Where am I? And then bar 2, we go up to the C and the A. Again, it's thirds, and again, it's a minor third. So it's even more, it's even like a build-up, if you like, of the tension. Happy, a little bit edgy, building, and then a little bit more edgy, and then, we go back to the F major. Okay, so I'm going to move on into bar 3. Of this part of the phrase. So going into bar 4, we have the pull off, a little bit of a melodic idea, and then a hammer on to the B flat. All right, so make sure when you do the pull off that you've got the third and the first finger down. A common mistake is that people don't have both fingers down, and then it's a little bit of a scramble. So that just makes it a really strong move. Pull a little bit down with the third finger, almost like it's plucking the string. Okay, so this is bar 4. And then hammer on. And basically that's where the first part of this 8-bar phrase is going to end, on that G on beat 3. I'll go from the upbeat at the end of bar 4 into bar 5. Using the 4th finger there, so 3rd is free for that B flat. Now here we go into our first campanella idea to finish off this phrase, and to me this is really what makes this arrangement really special, having this campanella bit. So I'll go right on bar 7. Back to our C, B flat, which was the very start of the piece. Okay, now why is the campanella run so special? Well, it just sounds nice, doesn't it? It's very idiomatic, typical of the re-entrant tuning. So that run begins in bar 7, and I'll go from the beginning of the bar. So, and this is where it begins with the G, A, B flat, and then we come down in thirds. And now it's just moving in steps. And then we go all the way up the octave to the C, B flat, same as the bar 1. You can just slide 1 and 3 up. And there's a little bit of work to do to get back. It is all the same, isn't it? The same, but watch out here in bar 13. Now we have this very crunchy F sharp coming in. So remember when we were in, where is it, bar 5, we had the C and the G, but now we have the C with the F sharp. So So we get that very diminished sound. And the fingering for that, for the left hand, is, so we're on 1 and 2 obviously. I keep 2 down, because it's going to make the shift easier, also because it's quite nice to have that overringing. I use the 3rd finger, okay, so it's underneath my 2nd finger but on the E string to play the F sharp, and then 2 and 3 slide up for the B flat and G, which is on beat 3 of bar 13. That sounded way too complicated, didn't it? I'll do it in slow motion. Hold 2 down, put the 3 down, and then slide them up 1 fret. And you can then release them. It repeats, doesn't it? Like the idea earlier. And now we're finishing off this section. Tonic chord, our F major chord. All right, so finish with the F major chord, but it's quite nice because we're kind of traveling through the minor, G minor, back to F, and then the C, and then the F. And I know there's, I'm calling out the chords even when there's only like 2 notes, and it's hard to tell exactly what chord it is, but we know that in the context of this piece, the fact that it's a classical piece is going to be quite predictable in terms of its chord progression, if you like, or harmonic structure. Okay, so that's just an overview of section A, and I suggest we play through it together, and I won't talk, I promise. So, and again, I'll just keep that leisurely tempo. 2, 3, and okay, at this point it's actually sounding quite boring, isn't it? Because I'm really just playing through it slowly, just thinking about getting the fingers on the right frets and playing the right notes. So it doesn't really have any character or shape. That comes when you speed it up. I'll give you a bit of an example. Okay, so once you increase the tempo, then you can get a little bit more shape. I was trying to make a point of, making those little that movement in thirds, giving it some shape, so it's got this sense of a crescendo, and then going back to home key, which is F major. Yeah, just trying to give it a bit more character, but play it slowly to begin with. Okay, let's move on to the B section. Now, in this section, we move into the relative minor of D minor, and you can hear that, you'll hear that straight away. So remember that we have an upbeat for our phrase, so we're actually going to come in on the final note of bar 16, and it plays with us a little bit because it's the A, which also belongs in the F major chord, but instead of going to the F major, we've got the D minor tonality, so it's very effective. Okay, so because of that, I'm actually going to put down my D minor chord right from the get-go, and so we'll just come in at the very end of bar 16 with that A upbeat. And you'll notice that on that fourth beat you have to release the first finger. All right, so maybe the issue here is more of the picking hand fingering, so I'm using thumb and index to M, and then P, M, P is thumb by the way, and then P, I, M, and now release the first finger, and it's P, I, M, and then that bar just repeats. Yeah, lots of A's. I mean, on the guitar you have the lower bass notes, but hey ho, sounds good nonetheless. Now we move into another little campanella. To get onto this, and this is bar 19, I'm just going to use my third finger as a guide finger to slide up to the 5th fret. There's my little campanella effect coming in. And then you might notice the third finger again just slides back. All right, so it's gone from the 2nd fret up to the 5th at the start of 19, and then it slides back to the D, which means I can drop really nicely onto that. It's an A major shape, isn't it? 2 and 1, although we're only playing those 2 notes. Yeah, I did pop in another hammer on, didn't I? It just kind of makes sense there. So what I'm doing there is, after I play the A and C sharp at the beginning of the bar, I'm just hammering down with that third finger to sound the D, because otherwise it's just too much going on. And then release. Little pause, that's the end of the first part of the phrase, and then we've got more D minors. Same thing, isn't it? And now a nice little movement across the strings. Love that A major. And that's where the phrase is going to end, because we're going to take a breath before we go on. This is at the end of bar 24. Different idea, isn't it? We've gone to the A major, so the major 5th of D minor. Before we get there, let's just play through that little D minor section from the end of bar 16. So 2, 3, coming on, 4. Slide up, slide back, hammer, pause, and then and I'll just pause there. Okay, now we're going to go into a section which is going to use more campanella ideas, and I'll pick it up at the end of bar 24. Okay, so it's going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay, probably caught you out, so I'll do that again. Got this nice little descending run, F, E, D, taking us to the C sharp. 1 and 2 and 3 and. So there's a little bit of work to do there in bar 25, isn't there? We start off with an A major shape, and it's an arpeggio. And then we've got to get up to the 6th fret. So don't panic, because we've got time. We want to keep that down for as long as possible, the A and C sharp. But as I play that top open A, I use that as an opportunity to move up to the 6th fret. I'll do that one more time. So, and then we're going to move back again using the open string. I think a very common problem that people have is they don't anticipate the movement. They tend to just stay like fixed and then think, oh, I've got to be back in first position, or I'm in first position, oh, I've got to be in, what's that, 4th position. Okay, so try and always use the open strings, because definitely with my arrangements, I'm always trying to put open strings in to facilitate those moves up the fingerboard. I'm going to pick it up on 26, okay, and no, I'm not. I'm going to play from 25. Let's play from 25. So now I'm going to change. This is quite an important technique that I use often. So in 26, although everything seems like, oh yeah, this is kind of easy, I just leave the 2nd finger down. Don't, because there is that 5th fret F at the end of the bar. So I anticipate that's coming by using the open A to change from that 2nd finger to the 1st. And that's going to mean that it's going to be really easy for me to get up the fingerboard. Okay, so from the beginning of 26. And I'll probably use my 3rd finger there, because I know in 27 I'm going to be looking at this shape, and if my 3rd finger's here on the F, it's going to be easy to drop on to that shape. All right, so I'll just play from 26 for you. Shift, and then there's a little bit of a time to reset when you've got the open strings at the beginning of 27. 1st finger and pinky finger. So again, a nice little campanella in 27. Again, that 3rd finger trick of keeping it down and then just slotting it back into the D minor shape to start 28. So I'm just holding down the D minor shape. There's the idea from the beginning of this section. So we very much end that section in D minor, having a little detour there. And the A major, very nice to go from the A major back to the D minor. And pause. I'll play it through a little bit faster tempo from the end of bar 16. if you got this far, well done. Making little pauses at the end of each section so that you can, you know, focus on one section at a time. Now, here we go for the final section, the grand finale. Woohoo! And we ended in bar 32, didn't we? We ended the B section with this D minor. Now, we're going to move back to our home key of F major, but we're going to have a little bit of an excursion along the way, and spoiler alert, get ready for more campanella. We'll just go from the beginning of 32 just to finish off that B section and show you how it ties on to the C section. Pause, and now again that little third finger trick, sliding up to the 5th fret, because I know. And back to first position. Alright, so for that 5th fret F at the end of 32, I'm definitely going to use my 3rd finger, and the reason for that is it's going to mean I can drop easily onto the 4th finger for the B flat in 3. Back to first position. There's our F major chord. Okay, so in 33 we were really playing around with the C7, weren't we? There's the B flat, and now back to F. Now this is the tricky bit, okay, and I'm going to use a 3/4 barre here. Going to keep it down for the whole bar, and then there is just a big shift, and there's really no easy way to do this, except you have that open G, which gives you a little bit of time. And really think about what your fingers are doing, and you want to get 2 and 3 into position for 36. Repeats. So there's a little bit of organisation needed there in 36. So as you can see, I've got 3 and 2 down. Nice strong combination of fingers. Now on the 3rd beat, I'm going to slide the 3rd finger up to the 7th fret and use the pinky, because this means that I can use the 1st finger on the D. Okay, so I've gone from 2 and 3 to 3 and 4, or 4 and 3, and then the pull off, and then the 3rd finger slides back up. So it's really important to have a finger on the fingerboard. Gives you that security, and same thing going into this bar 38. So I've got this open C, and then I've got the high C on the 8th fret of the E string, but notice how I've kept my 1st finger in position, because I know I'm going to need it. Alright, so that's just another instance of planning ahead, anticipating what's coming, and having the fingers organised. Alright, I'll go right at the beginning of bar 38. Now coming into a big campanella moment. 1st finger on that 5th fret F on the C string, and then open strings, which we like. I'm going to use 3 on the B flat. Notice this shape, very typical of campanella, and it's almost like an extended, well, it'd be a C major chord there, wouldn't it? But you think of your G major shape, and then you put the 1st finger onto the 4th string, and that's basically what we're doing here in 5th position. All right, so right on bar 39, keeping that 3 down, and then adding the other fingers as I need them. Keep them down in 40. Release the 2, release the 1. Now I'm going to release the 3. 3, 2, 1, 3, release 2, release 1, release 3. And then I'm going to go back to 1st position, ready for that final 4 bars. So you'll notice that in bar 41 and 42 there's no notation, and it's just, I've just written ad lib over those two bars because basically that's what they are. I liked that run, I liked the campanella idea, so I just extended it, so a little bit of creative license there, and I think it works quite well. So let's go from, let's see, 39, 38, and we'll go right on the third beat. So we've got that open C. I deliberately sped up there because I do kind of muck around a little bit with the tempo in the ad lib section, so you could just infuse it with a bit of rubato, would be the technical term, and just makes it a little bit elastic rather than very metronomic. So again, played slowly doesn't really sound that exciting, but what I was trying to do there is to just demonstrate the overringing effect and how important it is to hold fingers down for as long as possible, but obviously you've got to know when to release them. So it's that idea of kind of planning ahead. So the final bit, which is so right on the end of that bar 43, and now 44. That's the idea from bar 5, isn't it? Yeah, bar 5, just checking. Repeated. Again, this was just me finding a better way of finishing off on the ukulele, so I kind of put that up an octave, but it establishes the tonic. I think it works okay. If you don't like it, you don't have to do it. You can follow what's in the original as best you can. So let me play that final section, and so we're going to begin with the upbeat at the end of 32 going into 33. Okay, so have some fun with that. I think it's a really pretty piece. I really enjoy playing it, and I think there's lots of nice little technical workouts going on in there as well. So there's a performance video of this which I'd urge you to have a look at so you can see how the whole thing works together, and I hope you enjoy it. Let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.